You're listening to 102.9 WFPRLP, Franklin Public Radio.
Chris, you hear me? Yes. Okay, good. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Franklin Planning Board, March 24th, 2025. This is audio and video recorded. It's also on Zoom, and the Zoom call-in number is 312-626-6799, and the meeting number is 868-124-22050. Our first item of business, we're going to go to general business, and this would be a, excuse me, a covenant release for Corporate Drive. If I could go to Amy, please.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this was a project that was took place a long time ago, and somehow that lot never got released because I think they were holding on to it for the road to be accepted. The road has since been accepted, and they're looking for Lot 1 to be released.
Okay. I guess, Mike, did you have any comments or questions on this one?
I do not.
This is more of a formality?
Correct, yep. That section of Corporate Drive that leads into BJ's, that was an accepted road back well before I was here, so.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments? No? So I make a motion to accept the covenant release for Corporate Drive. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I just want to make a note, Mark, will be on Zoom for everybody out there. Okay. First item of business, I gotta make a couple comments really quick. This would be the continuation for a public hearing for 488 and 496 Summer Street, special permit site plan application. At our last meeting, was pretty much a displeasure of what was in front of us. So, tonight, I have a policeman here, if anybody should speak out of line, derogatory comments, et cetera, you will be asked to leave the building, and he'll escort you out the front doors, okay? Let's be respectful to everybody, the board, the town, the people sitting here, and the people watching. You'll have a turn to speak. What I will do, though, is there are certain few that didn't speak at the last meeting. Those are the only ones I'm gonna allow to speak, because this is a continuation. Excuse me. So the people that spoke, we have your comments, and the engineer of record is on site, and we can go from there. So, if we wanna make a presentation from the applicant, please, and then I'll go to Amy. Can you just introduce yourselves for the record, please?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Edward Cannon on behalf of the applicant, along with Dan American from Legacy Engineering.
Thank you. If I could go to Amy for a quick review, please.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, yeah, they were here about a month ago, giving us an update. They have submitted revised plans. They are in front of Beta right now. I know that they had dropped the unit count to 28. There'll be 26 new units with the 2 existing houses there that will need deed restrictions on them for over 55. The board's comments had requested to get down to 19, the allowable numbers, for the senior village overlay district. They do have, at the 28 count, they would have 4 affordable units that they provided. Another comment, the board was asking to move the infiltration basin further away from the retaining wall. I didn't notice that on the plans. And that's kind of where we stand.
Okay.
We did adjust that infiltration.
Thank you. I'll go to the board first. Comments, questions, before I go to the audience?
Does the applicant have
Oh,
any
do you
updates
want to
for
give
us?
an update? I apologize.
If I could share my screen on Zoom, to be able to put the plan up. Just need permission.
No, I guess he's not. Did you join Zoom?
I'm on Zoom.
You're on
Dan
Zoom.
American.
Okay.
I'm getting him.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
You are on, where are you? Oh, there you are.
Just while we're waiting for Dan, briefly, there were some questions raised. Beta raised a question about subdivision rules and regulations compliance. I addressed that in a letter to the board. This is not a subdivision. And there's also some questions that the board had raised about the critical need for senior housing. I addressed that in the same letter. Happy to take on any questions that the board may have about those, but I have the submission for your digestion.
We did submit an updated site plan, an updated narrative with some additional information. We made a few changes to the stormwater management system based on peer review comments. A couple comments in there that we indicated that we didn't think that we needed any changes, but if the board felt they were appropriate or necessary, those could be conditions if needed. We also made an adjustment to the infiltration field that was down here in this area per the request of the board member. We moved that further away from the retaining wall. I was able to obtain the lighting information for the light fixture on the street, and I actually just got this into you Friday, so I don't know if you've seen it. But we were able to incorporate that into the photometrics analysis, and you can see that it does provide some additional illumination at the intersection there. And then based on the town engineer's comments, we added a segment of gravity sewer coming off of Summer Street before we connected in the proposed low pressure force main. Those are the substantive changes. I guess we would just kind of summarize by saying that the project's been reduced very significantly in terms of unit count. Started with 44, a much more dense project. This project is very similar to the other senior villages that have been built in town. I actually looked at all the other senior villages that have been built, and they're all in single-family residential zoning districts. We're all in single-family residential neighborhoods. They all have densities that are very similar to this. They are all very configured in a very similar manner to this with similar features. So we think this is an appropriate development. It's a big piece of property. We have ample buffers to our neighbors. The nearest new building is 200 feet to the closest existing residential structure around us. The nearest new building is at least 340 feet off of Summer Street. And with the information that we've demonstrated to you, you're really not going to see this development from Summer Street because of the existing trees across the front, because of the two existing homes that will become units but effectively look like existing single-family homes. The streetscape from Summer Street is really changed very, very little. You're talking about adding a driveway, a stormwater basin, which we're required to do, and a fire lane, which will be a grass fire. So we believe that it meets all the requirements of the zoning bylaw, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Whoever didn't speak at the last meeting, if you have any comments or questions, just approach the mic and leave your name and address, please.
Good morning, good evening rather. My name is Stephen Foley, and I did speak at the last meeting. I'm here on behalf of, to begin with, Sally Winters.
Excuse me, Mr. Foley, just wait one more announcement before you start. Go ahead.
We're gonna give a 2-limit time fine, just like we did the last time. To be fair.
That's fine. I have some photographs that she wants to share with the board, and also a statement, and she's also on Zoom, and I know she wants to be heard on Zoom if she can be accommodated.
She'll have 2 minutes as well.
So I've got these photographs, which she asked me to provide to you, showing, I guess, the topography from her parcel, and also a statement that she wanted to, I guess I don't have to read it if she's going to.
We'll just put it in for documentation.
These are just copies of photographs of her property, my property, and the development.
So this would just be for record.
So that wasn't my time, that's her time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience? Comments, questions?
Roger Boivai, I live at 812 Summer Street. So a friend wanted me to read this out for them, who also lives on Summer Street. The Senior Village Overlay District bylaw should only be considered in, quote, critical senior housing need, unquote, situations. This was stated in the first meeting a year ago by the Department of Planning and Community Development. And from that date, there has never been a critical need. In fact, there has been a surplus since this application was submitted. They also recommended that the board require the applicant to provide proof that there is a critical need in Franklin for the project, or the project should be denied. The applicant has not provided that proof, and the project still has not been denied. On top of that, there's already a zoned proposal in the works on Panther Way, much better suited for this type of housing project. Since there is no need for this type of housing in the town, critical or otherwise, the planning board has an obligation to honor the zoning laws and preserve the status of the neighborhood as rural residential. The developer has not been respectful of the board's time or the residents' time. He has been allowed to come back to these meetings for over a year now, not fulfilling what's been asked of him and not been able to justify the needs for this project. This poses the question, why has the board allowed this to drag out over a year now, since there is no need, and it shouldn't be denied at the very first meeting? It should have been denied at the very first meeting. If this waiver is granted, the board will lose the public's trust in this neighborhood and most likely the rest of the town, setting an irreversible precedent for many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Mike Canasi. I live on 1 Woodchester Road in Franklin, just off Summer Street. So just a couple things. In the bylaw, it states the senior living village should be affordable housing. I don't believe these would be considered affordable. They're like 800,000 plus. I know if I was trying to move into a senior living, I probably won't be able to afford that. That's more than what my home costs today, which is a 4-bedroom colonial in the same area. There was also discussion last week about, last month about density and whether we continue to reduce the number if it meets the term for the need for density. These are rural residential lots. You need an acre to have a home. It's not a dense population. So the whole density argument should be thrown out. Whether it's 28 or 19, it shouldn't be any more than what meets the rural residential zone. The other mention at the last meeting was around the traffic pattern. And somebody talked about how there's only 2 people per house and like 3 trips a day or whatever that was. These are 3-bedroom homes. So to assume the other bedrooms are not going to be used isn't correct. I mean, they're not 1 bedroom with 1 office and 1 fitness center in the house. It's 3 bedrooms. These people assume could have children, adult-age children, like I do. My kids are at my house all the time. They drive. I have 5 cars in my I call it a parking lot, in my driveway many times. So you should expect the same amount of traffic coming in and out of this community. I guess that's it. Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience? Anybody on Zoom?
Hello, Jim Gennatti, 2 Woodchester Road, Franklin. I'm trying to figure out when no means no. You know, we came across this a couple years ago when Mr. Hunchard wanted to do high-density housing in the same spot, R5 zoning. It went to the town council within 2 meetings, squashed. And so what we say? Town council. Town council owns the master, plan. They have a good site with what the town needs, the overlays, the community, and 2 meetings, shot down. Now we're trying to do something similar. Again, all of a sudden there's an overlay that just happened to fall over the land. That's probably a discussion for another matter. But it just doesn't seem right that we keep on coming back to this. When does no mean no? And we still haven't got that urgent need request from you answered. Are we going to get that tonight?
Should be.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Anybody on Zoom?
Yeah, she does.
I'm on Zoom.
Hold on 1 minute, Sal. Go ahead, ma'am.
Gail Ferguson on 254 Summer Street. And I agree with the gentleman before, the last gentleman, about the traffic. You ride around Franklin, there's not 1 or 2 cars there's like 5 cars per house, practically. I mean, the traffic is worse now than the last meeting we were here. How many meetings do we have to come to? We don't want this. And has anybody brought up about the water resources for Franklin? We don't have a bottomless pit of water. And I don't know how many units he's asking for, 56 or something? That's a whole bunch of water. And I'm a conservative when it comes to the environment. You're going to deforest. The wildlife is no place to go, and people are complaining there's coyotes in their backyard and all that kind of situations. So I really think this is unnecessary. He's been shot down how many times now? I mean, enough is enough.
Thank you. Ms. Winters, you there? Cut you off. Hello?
Sally? Oh, she's saying hold on.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, may I speak?
Sure, you got
Hi, good evening.
2-minute timeline now.
I'm sorry?
Just a 2-minute timeline like we gave everybody else at the last meeting.
I didn't hear what you said.
2 minutes, just like we gave everybody else at the previous meeting.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance the
No, I
last
know.
meeting, Mr. Rondo.
I get it.
Okay, number one, the town already has a senior development that has been approved and has not started yet. That's Chestnut Hill. And then eventually, I'm sure Panther Way will be approved due to its location and no abutters. I also contacted the following senior living communities a few weeks ago, and the following had no wait list. Benchmark, Enclave, Hidden Acres, Eagle Nest Village, Villages at Oak Hill, Meadowbrook Heights, Magnolia Heights, and Palladini Village and Maple Brook. We need assisted living, not $900,000 condos that are considered cluster homes. The developers also mentioned that it would not be seen from the road. This is directly in front of my home. The proposed emergency road is in front of my home, the walking trail, as well as the construction road. I will literally be living in a construction zone. The developer in a meeting previously said that the trail going down into the town forest is moderate. Yes, if you want to call Mount Everest moderate, it is extremely steep slope. And the picture you have that Steve Foley gave you is the picture of the massive cliff that would be below the development. You'd have to rappel down that to get into that forest. I don't know where that walking trail is going to be, but they cannot come through they'd be coming down along my driveway. The introduction of this development will definitely alter the charm of the neighborhood. I've been there for 42 years, very private, no neighbors, and Bruce Hunchett has a right to develop his property, but only according to the zoning that would allow 5 homes on 2-acre properties. Again, we need assisted living, not senior living, which in the United States is actually considered 65 and over, not 55. With that said, I hope that the board would consider looking at these pictures. I did send a letter. I didn't hear from anybody at all. I have been respectful to the board. I have not gotten that same treatment back,
Sally,
which is very
not to interrupt you, I apologize, but
But
we have
anyway,
met our 2-minute mark, so we're going to be moving on.
I didn't
in
get
the
to
public
speak
hearing
last time.
process.
Could I continue with my other 2 minutes? Then I was shut off last time.
No, we're all set. We've heard your information.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Anybody else? No? Okay, go to the board. Comments, questions? Questions? Start with you first, if you want.
Well, I mean, at the last meeting, I think I had still expressed concern over the overall density of the project and looking to pull down the number of units to get to some level of agreeable balance. I don't think we're ever gonna make everybody happy, but I think trying to find a balance that can meet the needs and satisfy the abutters is out there. And I don't think what I'm seeing here is this just yet.
Jay?
My stuff lies more in some of the technical comments.
Could you speak up, please?
My comments lie more just replicating the technical things that G&H has offered, so, in the response letters. So beyond that, I got nothing.
Yeah.
No, I think my comments have been made pretty clear throughout this public hearing process. It is a public hearing process, which means you have an applicant who has the right to develop the property and come in before us and allow the applicant the opportunity to adjust plans to hopefully get to a point where there is some balance, as Chris noted. So everybody has the right to speak, and we have the right to listen. And I think we're doing a good job at listening to everybody here under stressful circumstances, especially at the last meeting. So with that being said, I'm all set.
Jen?
I believe I expressed my thoughts on this project at the last meeting as well. And I have nothing new to add.
Mark? You out there?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I also expressed my feelings, and to echo what Chris said, I think, we do not currently have a critical need for senior village housing. In my opinion, I think the density is a little too high for this location. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Greg, I got one.
Oh, go ahead, Trey.
As we talk about critical need, I think it's important that you folks have an opportunity to present your case on that, because I don't think that's really been put on the record beside this document. So I believe you should be afforded that opportunity.
Agree.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Okay. The online version of the Merriam-Webster Dictionary lists definition 2C of critical as being in or approaching a state of crisis. In August of 2024, Governor Healy signed into law Chapter 150 of 2024, the Affordable Home Act, hereinafter the Act, the very first paragraph of which states, whereas the deferred operation of this act would tend to defeat its purpose, which is to authorize forthwith the financing of the production and preservation of housing for low and moderate income citizens of the Commonwealth, and to make related changes in certain laws. Therefore, it is hereby declared to be an emergency law necessary for the immediate preservation of the public convenience. The first section of the act declares one of the act's primary purposes, quote, to support housing production for the elderly, disabled, and homeless, to preserve housing for the elderly. On February 6, 2025, Governor Healy's office published A Home for Everyone, a comprehensive housing plan for Massachusetts 2025 through 2029. The fifth line of the 43-page plan refers to the housing crisis we find ourselves in. The first sentence of the executive summary on page 5 states, quote, the house crisis profoundly affects all the people who call Massachusetts home. The needs assessment summary on page 19 declares as its first priority, quote, a shortage of homes is the root cause of our housing cost crisis, but getting to a more abundant supply won't be easy, close quote. In fact, the Commonwealth's new brand of housing production plan uses the word crisis 28 times. The Massachusetts legislature and the governor have not only recognized the critical housing need not only in Franklin but all of Massachusetts. They took a major leap forward to address this crisis last summer with the swift enactment and immediate effect of the act. In addition to the Commonwealth, the town of Franklin has identified the critical need for senior housing in the town's most recent housing production plan as set forth in the current version of the town's master plan, which includes the top 3 goals of the housing production plan as 1, maintain Franklin's subsidized housing inventory above 10% through 2030 and beyond. 2, increase the number of housing units affordable to Franklin's very low income, and moderate income residents. 3, increase the number of affordable housing units available to persons with special needs and the elderly. Given the urgent need for senior housing identified by the state and the town of Franklin, any reasonable view of the current housing situation for the elderly here in Franklin demonstrates there is a critical senior housing need. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to close the meeting for 488 and 496 Summer Street special.
Excuse me, sorry. I know I already spoke, but I don't think I used 2 minutes. Can I just get a 10-second rebuttal to that?
Sure.
So, you said at bullet number 3, they need to be affordable. These are not affordable, which is what I said previously. The housing crisis and the elderly living crisis are separate. A lot of that was around the housing crisis in Massachusetts. The elderly housing doesn't fix that. And my third point, Sally went through it pretty well. She did the research. None of the elderly living villages or units or whatever have a wait list. There's plenty of room. So I think that data rebuts the comments that he made.
Thank you. So, I had a motion on the floor to close the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We're gonna do this a little bit out of the ordinary, but we're gonna vote on the application tonight for 488 and 496 Summer Street. And this will be for a roll call vote.
So, for special permit 185-48 Senior Village Overlay District, A, the proposed project addresses or is consistent with neighborhood or town need. Greg Rondo?
No.
Beth Whirling?
No. and-
Jennifer?
Oh, sorry. I'm just going to explain why I'm
Reasons,
saying
yep,
no,
mhm.
if that's all right. So, no, the design deficiency of the site plan as proposed outweigh the overall need within the town of Franklin for 28 age-restricted senior housing units. In addition, the senior village as proposed at 488 and 496 Summer Street, superimposed on the rural residential 1 zoning district, is not consistent with a neighborhood need in the rural residential zoning district along Summer Street.
Jay Mello?
Yes.
Chris Stickney?
No.
Jennifer Williams? No. And I, for myself, will just add that we are already above the town's goals for the required amount of housing in the town with additional development underway, and the density of this project, I don't believe is consistent with the rural 1 residential zoning district. B, vehicular traffic flow, access, and parking and pedestrian safely are properly addressed. Greg Rondo?
No.
Beth Whirling?
Yes.
Jay Mello?
Yes.
Chris Stickney?
Yes.
Jennifer Williams, yes. Public roadways, drainage, utilities, and other infrastructure are adequate or will be upgraded to accommodate development. Greg Rondo?
No.
Beth Whirling?
Yes.
Jay Mello?
Yes.
Chris Stickney?
Yes.
Jennifer Williams, yes. Neighborhood character and social structure will not be negatively impacted. Greg Rondo?
No.
Beth Whirling?
Yes.
Jay Mello?
Yes.
Chris Stickney?
No.
Jennifer Williams, no. As stated, I do not believe this type of density is aligned with the neighborhood character in particular. Project will not destroy or cause substantial damage to any environmentally significant natural resource, habitat, or feature, or, if it will, proposed mitigation, remediation, replication, or compensatory measures are adequate. Greg Rondo? Greg Rondo?
Come back to me.
Yep, come back to you. Beth Whirling?
No, the Autumn Hill Senior Village does not adequately address Chapter 185, Section 48, Senior Villages Overlay District. G, review and compliance. 1, planning board findings for senior village special permit, criteria A through C. And the proposed development has not, through design and layout, succeeded in creating a true village setting with pedestrian orientation and character consistent with the historic development patterns of the town of Franklin, nor it has been designed as a well-integrated development in the terms of land use, functional systems, and major design elements such as buildings, roads, and open space. And as such, site development will destroy and/or cause substantial damage to environmentally significant natural resources, habitats, and features.
Okay, so for E, that's a no for you.
We're on
I was on E.
E. No, yeah.
Okay. Greg Rondo?
No.
Jay Mello?
Yes.
Chris Stickney?
Yes.
Jennifer Williams? No. Number, height, bulk, location, and siting of buildings and structures will not result in abutting properties being deprived of light or fresh air circulation or being exposed to flooding or subjected to excessive noise, odor, light, vibrations, or airborne particulates. Greg Rondo.
No.
Beth Whirling.
Yes.
Jay Mello.
Yes.
Chris Stickney.
Yes.
Jennifer Williams, yes. Water consumption and sewer use, taking into consideration current and projected future local water supply and demand and wastewater treatment capacity will not be excessive. Greg Rondo.
No.
Beth Whirling.
Yes.
Jay Mello.
Yes.
Chris Stickney.
Yes.
Jennifer Williams, yes. The proposed use will not have adverse effects which overbalance its beneficial effects on either the neighborhood or the town in view of the particular characteristics of the site and of the proposal in relation to that site. Greg Rondo.
No.
Beth Whirling.
No, Autumn Hill Senior Village has not been designed with the true purpose and intent of Chapter 18548 Senior Village Overlay District in mind. The proposed senior village is only viable project if two pre-existing single-family residential homes are incorporated into design, creating an unusual horseshoe-like lot that requires nearly 50% of it to be clear-cut in order to accommodate the proposed units, allow for required access and connection of utilities, leaving less than ideal land to meet the open space requirement for the development as a senior village. It is intended that the benefits of a senior village development will act to encourage property owners and developers to consolidate land parcels so that comprehensive and responsible site planning will occur. This is not responsible planning. In addition, the Autumn Hill Senior Village has not been designed to adequately address Chapter 185, Section 48, Senior Village Overlay District G review compliance, Planning Board findings for a senior village special permit criteria A through C, nor does this project sufficiently meet all the general special permit requirements A through E. Because of this, the proposed use will have adverse effects which outbalance its beneficial effects on either the neighborhood or the town in view of the particular characteristics of the site and the proposal in relation to that site.
Thank you. Jay Mello.
Yes.
Chris Stickney.
No.
Jennifer Williams, no. I concur with everything that Beth spelled out in much better, probably finer grain detail, but quite simply, I do not believe that this is in the spirit of meeting the intent of the 185-48 Senior Village Overlay District, Section A, as spelled out in our own town bylaws of really what the intent of this type of overlay district is trying to achieve. So that's 4-1, or 1-4.
Thank you, everybody.
Great, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you for everybody's patience tonight, too.
If the vote was not understood, just to clarify for the audience, that means that the proposal was denied.
I'm going back to general business.
Okay, we're gonna head back to general business, and this will be, excuse me, an update / briefing. For chapter 40B filing for 202 Washington Street. If the applicants are here, if you just want to approach the desk, please, and give you an introduction. Sure.
Hey, good evening. My name is Michael Hassett. I'm an engineer with Garrier and Halnon, here representing the applicant, New Generation Customs Homes. On behalf of the applicant, we are requesting the planning board's support for the construction of a friendly 40B development through the Town of Franklin's local initiative program. The site consists of 3 parcels. The addresses are 202 Washington Street, 4 Taft Drive, and an unnumbered parcel on Taft Drive. Total acreage is 14.3 acres. The project site is currently undeveloped, except for the existing single-family residential house at 202 Washington Street. On the plan, that's just to the left of the boulevard site entrance. It abuts Route 495 to the northwest. Single-family homes in Washington Street to the southwest, and undeveloped land to the northeast, and Taft Drive development to the southeast. There are no wetland resources on the site or within 100 feet of the project area. In accordance with the development, in accordance with the Department of Planning and Community Development Friendly Chapter 40B project local initiative program, we attended 2 tech review meetings with the town staff in March and June 2024 to present this project to them. And we've revised the layout based on comments that we received consistent with the plan before you today. The proposed development consists of 13 triplex units with 3 bedrooms per unit that will be serviced by town water and sewer. The project is intended to make 25% of the housing units affordable in accordance with the Housing and Community Development Department. Since the majority of recent housing developments in Franklin and surrounding areas have consisted of multifamily apartment-style complexes, this development would offer a more residential neighborhood community and includes affordable units. The project site will have a boulevard-style entrance off of Washington Street to accommodate residential and emergency vehicles maneuverability both in and out of the development. And the rest of the development will be serviced by a 24-foot wide paved road. Additional amenities being considered consist of pocket parks and trails to accommodate the resident. Approximately 40% of the 14.3 acres will remain undeveloped, with the exception of temporary disturbance from the installation of a cross-country sewer that would connect from the east side of the property down to Taft Ave to be serviced by town sewer. Each triplex will have a single car garage and parking within their driveways, and the roadways will be maintained through a homeowners association, and the development will have a common mailbox as well as 14 proposed visitor parking spaces with a 5-foot sidewalk throughout the site. We are currently coordinating with the New England Power Company to obtain an assent agreement to do the installation of that cross-country sewer within their easement. And the applicant is proposing to maintain the existing house at 202 Washington Street. That's the one to the northwest of the boulevard. That would be maintained on a separate conforming lot. At this time, we're only requesting 2 waivers. One for curbing to allow modified Cape Cod berm within the development, where vertical granite would be normally required. We would be providing vertical granite curbing at the roundings. And the other waiver is to provide 1 sidewalk instead of 2. And so just to kind of walk you around the site, Washington Street's down here. Taft Ave is off in this direction. This is the boulevard entrance that tapers down to a common mailbox area. Visitor parking is here. We have 2 preliminary drainage basins identified on the plan. And then these are the triplex units around the back. We've maintained the southern side as undeveloped to provide an increased setback to the neighbors. Really tried to keep these houses away from all of the abutting properties as far as we can. And that's really the extent of the project for now, so I'll turn it over to the board for any questions.
Before I go to the board, I'll go to Amy if Amy, if you could give us a rundown, please, from
Sure.
Department of Planning?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess he gave a great
Yeah.
overview of what it is with the 39
Sure.
units. You know, we put together this process as town staff for recommending coming in with friendly 40Bs. So from here, whatever way it recommends, the next step is for them to go to town council, and then if they get favorable stuff, they'll apply with the state and end up at the ZBA for the formal hearing of this. So just to kind of go over that. Recently, probably about 4 or 5 months ago, town council did change the ideas that we had for the friendly 40B process, where they're not recommending the large apartment style buildings anymore, that they are recommending more home ownership opportunities to come in with these friendly 40Bs, so we aren't getting to 300, 400 unit complexes. We're getting some smaller complexes and giving an opportunity for home ownership. So this is why they're here now. I guess really my main comment would be, I had 2 comments, one being about the sidewalk. We typically, if they want one sidewalk, we do ask for the vertical granite curbing. I just think of the long-term maintenance for the owners. The homeowners are going to be responsible for the roadway eventually when everything sells, so they're going to have to take on that maintenance of the curbing for that. And then the visitor parking's only down on the northwest side. I thought something up towards the northeast side could kind of accommodate some of the units up that way. Would probably be a little bit helpful if they could fit something in over there. Thank you.
Okay, good, thank you. How about Mike with DPW? Mike, any questions or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, we haven't reviewed this in a town for any technical manner yet. Once it does get submitted to the ZBA, I'm sure we'll be asked to review it at that point, but for now, we just take a look at the plans.
Okay, okay, good. I'll go to the board. I'll start with Jen first.
Thank you. So just to expand on what Amy said, the friendly 40B process, we, the planning board, don't have the ability to approve this in any way, shape, or form. All we can do is give suggestions for how to improve this project or change it, or you know, we can share our thoughts on it. That will go to the town council. Ultimately, it is in the hands of others. So just for the public to be aware in terms of clarifying the process. Generally, I mean, I think this scale of development is great compared to massive, you know, complexes, particularly in this location, right next to the highway, you know, on a parcel of land that might otherwise not be super desirable. I do think that home ownership opportunity is key, and getting that percentage of affordable is great. I would love to see, this is a very heavily densely wooded area, and everyone here knows how I love my trees. I would like to see as much of that forested area remain as possible. It looks like you're clear cutting a lot of the site. I know you said 40% or so is to remain. Maybe I'm just not seeing it off the plan on the sheet that you have up here. But definitely appreciate keeping the buffer for the neighbors, but just generally to preserve sort of natural habitat and you know, stormwater for management reasons and for the environment would be great to preserve as much forest as possible. And then I guess a question just to the town. This is about where the sidewalks on the street kind of end, right? Between here and King Street, right? So I guess through the chair, my question as has come up on every other development, Washington Street, at what point is this town gonna do the sidewalks on Washington Street to make this a safer area, particularly for pedestrians, runners, people with strollers, anyone trying to go out for a walk, is considering the truck traffic and other uses that are happening further down the road of the site. It's a really dangerous place to walk or run. I feel like I'm taking my life in my hands every time I go this way, and I know there are plans for it. I know Jay worked on it. I'm just wondering if there's any update to the time frame for when that would be completed.
Mr. Chairman, I can respond to that. So actually, we do have that. It's being designed at the moment. It's under design. We're going to get ready to submit to Concom for environmental permit for that. For the design of the sidewalks, it's going to go basically from just past 495 all the way down to the intersection at Washington and King Street.
Yeah.
So the design's there. We actually got a grant to do that design work. When it comes to actually building it and construction funding, that's a whole nother question. I don't foresee where the funds are coming from at this point, but we did get the grant, so we are moving forward with the design, the permitting, we'll get that in place, and then see what happens from there with the funding for the construction of it.
Okay.
But that is
Thank you.
ongoing at the time.
That's good news. Hopefully the override passes. Okay, yeah, thanks.
I have a question for Mike before you move on. Mike, would it be possible for you to provide that, those preliminary designs to us so I can make sure our site works with that future expansion?
Sure, I can coordinate with Mike offline.
Thank you.
Sorry, and just to build on that, I don't know with a 40B, but I'm just gonna throw it out there in terms of like developer impact fee. Is there anything that, if should this project move forward, that the developer of the site could contribute towards helping actually make that sidewalk happen? So, that's all. Thank you.
Beth?
You can come back to me.
Okay. Jay?
Yeah, so I have to echo some of what Jen said. I'm happy to see these 40B opportunities come up that offer home ownership, and kind of as we look to develop things in eastern Massachusetts from now forward, only the tough sites are left, and I think this is a good use of a tough site. Some of the other comments I have are a little bit more technical in nature. Like personally, I don't like infiltration systems under the road. So I feel like you could bump those out of the boulevard, like that would be my take on that.
We can look at that. The challenge is the existing houses remaining, and that's the low point on the site. So we're trying to keep as much of that out of those chambers as we can. That is the low point on the property. So all the water kind of drains towards Washington Street.
Could you catch almost everything before the toe of the infiltration and then kick it back towards like the toe of the infiltration basin maybe?
We'll look at that.
Yeah, like I know it's tough over there because the topography's taking me that way. It's like a personal thing, right?
Yeah.
And then I believe that that's not the best. I'm trying to picture what it's like driving over there in my mind, but I believe you're kind of coming over the crest as you clear the overpass. You start to pass down the hill there. So to just take a look at that intersection and see if it needs to be lit or you need to clear around it.
So site distance concerns?
Yeah, just like to site distance and lighting concerns, and people fly on Washington Street, so I can see that being an issue. That's really it. I think this is, on the curb thing, if there's no sidewalk, I don't really care if it's granite or not. I think that Cape Cod berm is the way to go without a sidewalk. That's my personal, if there's a sidewalk, put vertical granite in, but if there's no sidewalk, it's just grass. Cape Cod berm functions.
Even with like a grass strip, like a 5-foot grass strip between the pavement and the...
If there's a grass strip, sidewalk, curb, like vertical granite curb.
Okay.
Just as a, because then you want to protect a grass strip.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's a 5-foot sidewalk right up against some vertical granite curbs. But like, even with a grass strip, put the granite curb in to protect the grass strip. But if it's just lawn behind it.
Well, good.
Yeah, I think that's all we got.
Chris?
Out of curiosity, I was trying to figure it out, and I'm not that, the chair, I'm not that quick.
Timely.
What, without the 40B, what would be the permissible number of units?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I can look into it.
That's what I was trying to back into.
After your chair collapsed?
Well, it was in the process before. Other words, sorry, Beth.
No, it's just gonna be a single family.
3?
3, right?
Yeah. While you're distracting everyone, I'm gonna fix my chair.
It's 40,000. Yeah, it's 40,000.
Total parcel is 14 acres.
Yeah, so it'd be like 10 units-ish.
Single family.
Yeah, with a road and there's like 10.
Okay. I'm in agreement that this is one of those kind of gnarly parcels that are left out there in the world. I'm very much in favor of the fact that it's an ownership project and not a rental project. I think that's the next big swing of property types that we need to look at that are well-connected and well-located. And in hearing that the sidewalk project is potentially coming along, that's certainly helpful getting into parts of, kind of that downtown triangle where the old gold convenience store is, area down that way from here, or coming up to the backside for La Cantina and Acapulco. So I feel like there's some good opportunity for connectivity here. I thought the exterior renderings looked fine. No major concerns, at least on my end for that.
I do have those here, do you want me to bring them up to show everybody?
I just said I like
The
them.
housing.
Yeah, if you can, so the public can see them.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do it, please.
So this is the housing style they're looking at, very residential. Oh, sure. So I'm not sure if you can, people at home can see the plan, there it is. But that's the housing style that they're looking to do, look very much like a single-family home. You know, well done, you know, not trying to put the cheapest thing possible in.
Relative to the installation of that cross-country, is it cross-country, is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, sewer pipeline, is there a plan, and I know it's part of the easement area, so it's probably a little touchy, but to at least kind of replace the disturbance to current or near current condition, to kind of put it back to kind of satisfy?
Yes, and the siting of that was meant to follow existing dirt trails through there.
Okay.
So most of the site is not going through pristine woodland, it's following existing like dirt bike and power company access trails.
Okay.
So we are looking to minimize the disturbance in there. And I spoke with one of the abutters on Taft Street. He called our office and voiced his concern about how close that unit came to his property. So in future designs, we're planning to move that further away.
Great, and then lastly, there's that weird fork, right, where you come across, there's the longer one where the sewer goes, and it looks like there's another sliver that comes back out towards Washington Street. It's not on this plan, it's just off to this plan, bottom right. Just wondering if there was any plans for that. It almost looks like a tree branch, it kind of goes out in two different directions and forks. Yeah, so I can see the dirt trail where you're talking about the sewer, but then you have that straight shoot down there.
No plans through there.
It's untouched, even through construction? Okay.
No need for that. There's no beneficial access for us today.
Okay, great. No further questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Sure. I think my fellow board members have said a lot of what I'd like to say. I do like the homeownership opportunities. I do like the design that you're presenting. It is a little single-family homes in a nice style. Just making sure that not just meeting the minimum requirements for plantings, to perhaps enhance that. You do have abutters there to keep as much buffer as you possibly can. Obviously, there's traffic on Washington Street that has been a concern in the past, and I know this will be going to ZBA, so hopefully ZBA will examine a traffic study very closely to make sure that.
We do have a early traffic count from Benas.
Okay, great.
And let's see. Find where that is. So average weekday vehicle trips entering and exiting is 124, so a total of 248 trips per day. And I think for peak trips, that was in here as well.
I have it if you're.
Oh, sure.
4 for morning peak hour, entering, 11 exiting, and 11 for evening peak hour, entering, and 8 exiting. So a total of 15 and 19.
Yeah, so they're anticipated to be fairly dispersed throughout the day. It's not going to be a big morning rush or anything like that. But as Beth says, the zoning board, if and when that gets before them, they will have that traffic study peer reviewed and looked at closely, I'm sure.
So with the limited ability of the planning board to provide input, as Jen noted, you can only try to make a project better for everybody. So we're just keeping that in mind.
You guys all set? I actually concur with all the other board members. I just had a couple quick questions. Me personally, I would like to see the granite or reinforced concrete throughout. It's gonna help you in the long run for maintenance. Number of units concerns me a bit, being 39. We're trying to get into the smart controlled growth. I don't know if it's a possibility to lose a couple there, it's just, without utilizing every stitch of land for housing and roads. A little bit more open space for common area for, kids to play and whatnot, so my concern would be the number of units. Gravel removal, you're gonna be looking for gravel removal, or, blasting up there?
The preliminary testing we did, I believe, did not have shallow depth to ledge beyond at the entrance. So there was some shallow material in there, but in the area of the basins, it was good sand. And then even in the back, we were getting down pretty good depths, and it was like a sandy loam. So decent soils throughout. There was just a pocket of ledge kind of to the north and west of the boulevard, kind of that existing house area where we did our testing.
And you don't plan on doing any gravel removal?
Not to my knowledge at this time.
Because it is all gravel up there, that's why.
No, that is not my understanding of the intent of the project.
I did have a note about the visitor parking, maybe take 7 of the lower ones, put them in the bottom right corner of the radius there, just to distribute it.
Yep.
So that way there, the people on the top right, the visitors can park in that spot, maybe even, we get so many delivery trucks now, the UPS, the FedEx, all these guys, it just gives them an opportunity, plus the visitors to park there as well. Maybe advantageous. I did have a question, am I reading it correctly, they're all 3-bedroom units?
That is the plan, yes.
Is there a possibility to have a mix of at least 2 and 3 bedrooms, so you're not loading up the site? Because you gotta figure 3 bedrooms, times 3 times 40, that's 120. You're gonna get 40 kids out of that, 30, 40 kids out of that potentially.
I can certainly talk to the applicant about it.
Just a thought, and if that being said, if there's a spot for like the school bus drop off for the kids in the area, so they can get on and off safely, the main entrance or partially up, beneficial until the sidewalks and then makes its way through.
If the bus is able to enter the neighborhood, I think that mailbox might be a good dual use.
Just a good safe
area.
place for them to do. Yep. And I had, renderings, I think are fine. Just the number of units potentially might cost. I just wanna make sure we start going smart. Controlled growth rate nowadays is what we're trying to do for. That's basically what I had. Anything else?
Public?
Yeah.
Mark.
Oh, Mark, my apologies. Mark, do you have any comments?
Oh, no worries. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to piggyback on what you said, Mr. Chairman, I agree as far as maybe knock it down a couple of units or a couple of buildings. Also relocate those visitors parking spaces, and to also tag on to what Jen said, I'd like to see a buffer area, especially across from buildings 12 and 13, and to give a buffer for the abutters. Thank you. No more comments.
An early thought I've had is we can look at revegetating some of the disturbed slopes with like a wetland, not a wetland, but a New England conservation seed mix. There's no need, doesn't necessarily need to stay grass after we clear it. We can look at, revegetating that to provide additional screening and return it to a natural state afterwards.
Chris?
Just a last comment, and it's less maybe project specific and maybe more for Amy to go back when we look at these friendly 40B projects. It would be great if these projects came in one as the ownership as opposed to rental, which we've already addressed, which I think is fantastic. But I think to be really truly friendly would to be beating the minimum standard for affordable. 25 is great, but if you're truly friendly, can you get us 2 or 3 extra units that are affordable in the mix to really be friendly, as opposed to just hitting the minimum and running to the races? That's all.
Anybody in the audience? Any questions, comments? This is just a briefing. If you just want to approach the mic and give your name and address, please.
My name is Patricia Restano. I live at 220 Washington Street. I'm an a direct abutter on two sides of my property to this complex. And the, believe it was referred to as a double barrel entranceway, is literally yards from my side door. And I was hoping that there was something that could be done to preserve my privacy. These units will be above, that they will look down on my property, so I'm literally living in a fishbowl if this project comes to fruition. So I was hoping there was something that could be done for me in terms of screening. And this double barrel entrance is just horrifying to me personally. And this is family property that's been in the family for over 120 years.
And I'm sure you don't look into that far.
Yeah, we absolutely understand the need for
alternatives.
screening. And that's why the site is configured the way it is, kind of backloaded with the units, to keep them as far away from the abutters as we can. The detention basin, you know, it works great for the gravity drainage in that location, but it also serves the benefit of not having a unit there. And so, you know, once that's all built, it'll just be a grass, or as I just discussed, potentially a revegetated slope that should provide a lot of privacy. There won't be any units looking down the hill at our property. All the nearby properties are on the inside of the circle, and so the nearest one is several hundred feet away. But absolutely, we'll look at providing as much screening as we can.
Also, where the mailboxes are located, at least looking at the site plan, it appears pretty close to me. They're just where the hill is, I believe.
I can understand that. I don't necessarily agree with that characterization of it. I think we're at the end here. So this is your house here?
Yes.
And so the mailboxes are, you know, up over here. So you know, that's, you know, several hundred feet, I would guess. So like if you were to front of the project at 50, maybe up at 300. So you're probably around, you know, 150, 200 feet away.
Well, I mean, looking at the plan, this looks to be a great distance between, you know, this double barrel entrance and my home. In reality, it's mere yards away from me. So that just is so disgusting.
And we cited this entrance in the location of the existing driveway for that single-family home. And so, you know, the entrance isn't getting significantly closer to her property. There won't need to be significant clearing in that area, but we absolutely understand her request for additional screening, and we'll look at providing that.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience? If you just want to approach the mic, give me your name and address, please.
Hi, Karen Miller, 246 Washington. Can I just get a quick explanation again of, Amy, the process? I couldn't quite hear what you said. This is just like kind of courtesy here and it goes to town council?
Yeah, so it has staff together, since we are over 10% for our 40Bs, to entertain additional housing, because the state is in a housing crisis, that we wanted to put together a plan that we would try to have friendly 40Bs come in, and the friendly 40B would be to come in through planning, get our recommendations from planning. Planning doesn't typically get to have any feedback on 40Bs, as well as town council, so this is given an opportunity for 2 more boards to provide some recommendations before they get to the ZBA, and they still have to file with the state.
Thank you, appreciate it. And then just I heard you say the technical review hadn't been done from the town side and such, and so I looked real quick at the plans, and so this is me. This is an extremely steep slope. It's kind of the story of our life. When I'm in front of you, this extremely steep slope, but this is kind of like a hill that flows right down like that. And so when the town does the technical review and everything of that, they'll look at that again, right, to make sure things aren't running down kind of thing. So even though it's a 40B, all the rules still apply, the safety thing. We've been through this a lot, so I'm I don't want to go through it, I just am asking the same thing. The only thing that's different is rather than the zoning, rather than you approving things like in the past, now the town council does it, and you really, zoning board.
So this is just recommendations, this isn't in our purview to vote on, we're just making comment and recommendations, what we see, that may help the project in the neighborhood. But yes, Mike and his group and independent data will do their review as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Questions, comments, none? Okay, Amy?
I'm all set. I guess, would the board want to make a recommendation, or would you want to move it to general business at the next meeting, and I can type up all the comments that were made tonight, and you guys could go through those and base a recommendation on that?
Typically do, yeah.
Okay.
Do that, that'd be good, then we can think through it.
So should we close the public hearing?
There's no public hearing.
No.
Oh, sorry, this, we're just.
It's just general business. I can put it on April 7th.
Our agenda's all over.
April
the place,
7th?
so-
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
Are the Zoom comments still open?
Oh, yes, sorry about that.
No problem.
Just,
So I
name and
didn't,
address, please?
oh yeah, Matt Garlock, 4 Taft Drive. So I didn't quite catch it at the beginning, but it sounded like he said that one of the property numbers was 4. I believe you're probably the person I talked to. On the original plans, the property was listed as 4, and it should actually be 2. We just wanted to make sure that got recorded correctly.
I'll correct that oversight. Yep.
Cool, thank you. And then I had another question about the, that double barrel opening. So, on Taft Drive, we just have just a regular street opening. I'm wondering, what's the purpose of having such an extra wide opening onto that street, and also kind of, it goes hand in hand with one of the neighbors' comments about, having that so close to her property.
So I wasn't involved in the early concept of that, but my guess is that probably came up during tech review. Mike, if you can remember back to, this summer, do you recall anything about the entrance boulevard being requested at the tech review hearings?
Through the chair, unfortunately, I don't remember any specifics about why that was designed that way.
I mean, so if it's the preference of the town, if that be reduced, I think, I can talk to the applicant and see if it's something that they'd be willing to do. It certainly would be a reduction in cost. And so if that's the preference of the board, I'll talk to him and see if he's amenable to it.
Chairman, I think if you get feedback from police, fire, public safety that indicate, or if there's a reason, for some reason, somebody in town hall wanted the double barrel, then if nobody is commenting otherwise that it's necessary, I think a better adjustment would be to reduce it. Help out the neighbors. But if there is a practical reason, safety or anything to that extent, and it's necessary, then just making it as screened as possible to the abutters is important.
Absolutely.
Awesome, thank you. And then 2 last things. So when construction is going on, do you anticipate them using the power company access to get through there, or primarily through the main entrance?
I imagine the primary access would be through the site, coming downhill. They might need, when they're doing the work right at Taft, it might be more convenient to access it from there, but
Sure.
I'm sure the zoning board, when we get to that stage, we'll make sure we have all of our erosion control and anti-tracking measures ducks in a row.
Okay, thank you. And then just one kind of side question through the chair. There was a comment about the plans for the sidewalk on Washington Street. I guess the design has been made. Is that available to the public as well?
Through the chair, no, it's under design at the moment, it's still in progress, so nothing's been completed yet. We expect to be going to conservation probably within the next month or two to have it permitted. Those plans will be available once that gets submitted.
Awesome. I'm really happy to hear that. Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Chris?
Real quick, Mike, is it both sides, one side of Washington, the side proposed, at least the design right now?
The proposed sidewalk is just on one side, on this side of Washington Street.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mike.
Everybody good? Okay. So I'll make a motion to.
You don't need a motion.
Dump motion, you just continue until April 7th.
Yep, we'll
with
put it on
grounds
April 7th and,
On the general business.
yes, that's correct.
And just to confirm the expectations of the board at that time, you're looking for a tweaked layout and design addressing some of the things brought up tonight?
If
Yeah.
you could, I think
Okay.
that'd be beneficial for us to see.
I think we're also just looking for Amy to provide us a list of the comments we indicated for a recommendation to zoning board.
Okay. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
We'll stay in general business at this point. We'll go to a limited site plan for 275 Washington Street. This is the flex space. If anybody's here representing.
I'm here.
Okay, if you just want to sit down and.
Sure, is this working? Peter Genta with Franklin Flex Space LLC, the property owner.
Do you want to give the board a quick reference of what you're trying to accomplish here?
Yeah, I've been getting some phone calls from the building commissioner saying that we have some people working outside of the initial operating hours, and so we'd like to extend the hours so that people can come in on the weekends and get their work done. Primarily, and we're also looking to alleviate the concern of some of the neighbors that there's a lot of traffic potential at 7 a.m. when the school bus comes. So we've asked for an earlier start time so that we can space out traffic. So that's sort of a 6 o'clock start and Sunday hours.
Sunday too?
Yeah, I mean, unless you don't mind people coming in, like I was working this weekend getting my taxes done. And I work all week and then I gotta come in on the weekends to get stuff done.
You were already issued a building permit for this?
Yes.
Amy, if I could go to you, please, Department.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, they submitted a letter asking to, their current hours are Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And they're requesting 7 a.m. to, actually 6 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Current hours, I think, are till 9 or 10. It's weird, when it was first put in, they segregated warehouse space separate from office space.
Okay, so, all right.
So warehouse was, you know, the general business of contractors typically wraps up by 5.
Okay.
But the office hours tend to go on.
The office hours can go till 10
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
But the hours of operation is 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Saturday.
Yeah.
And then they're also requesting to add on Sunday. Do you currently have occupancy permits for those interested in staying later? Through the chair?
When you say, all the existing tenants have occupancy permits. And we still have the third building is under construction to be ready next fall.
Okay. So do your current tenants are looking to expand their hours?
Yeah, we've got one tenant who's well, some of the, I'm gonna say 3 or 4 typically get started at 6 to bring in, load up their trucks, plan out their day and hit the road to
Through the chair,
construction sites.
please.
And we've got a personal trainer who would like to give some classes at 6:30. We've got some potential tenants looking at the third building that would like to have 6:30, 6 start times. I don't know what's typical in other
So this
projects
isn't-
around the
so-
town.
So this isn't specific to one business, this is specific to a site.
Yeah, because we haven't locked down everybody who's gonna be living there or working there on the third building, so rather than come back to the town, what's typically done on other projects? Do you have to do a case-by-case?
In some
Meeting.
instances, yes, because one may make more noise, or say in terms of deliveries, et cetera, so it could be almost potentially case by case based on the usage. Because if I remember correctly, the usage in this particular site was more of a contractor / yard, that is plumbers, electricians, HVAC guys.
Yeah, all inside work, nothing outside?
No, I mean,
No, no,
for
I-
them to utilize this space as their shop.
Oh, true.
Go in the morning, set up, take off.
Right.
That was the whole process that we were
But
told.
we are getting more like printers. We've got an AV equipment rental company that delivers big TVs to hotels on a short-term
Now
basis.
you're looking
So
for
we're getting more, less heavy-duty contractors and more smaller businesses as well.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask some clarification? What zone is this in? Can you just remind me?
Industrial.
Industrial, okay. Thank you, just 1 minute.
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
In due process, does anybody?
In industrial includes like a health club, which we have, well, a small private trainer. We've got a local coach who wants to operate an indoor basketball half court and do some training at AAU indoors. And we're well insulated, and I don't think we're creating noise.
It's just the amount of volume coming and going that wasn't projected on the first run is what I have.
Well, I think we're under the initial projections for traffic that we thought, and we have daily video of comings and goings.
I would
I
probably
think-
look for some traffic counts.
And we're probably
You said,
50 to 60 trips a day.
I want it by design, but.
Mr. Chairman,
we'll
I
move forward.
have a few comments, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I feel that you guys came in and made a very good presentation about being good neighbors and working, and that you were presenting the vision of contractor spaces. I understand that you are allowed uses within the industrial zone. That's up to the building commissioner to say, okay, yea or nay.
Yes.
But the understanding of what you were proposing was presented to the applicants, and now you're coming back and saying we're gonna have pretty similar, maybe, expanding it out to opportunities.
Well, it's
that-
all allowed under the industrial
I understand
space.
that. I understand that. I'm
And
not
if
quite
anything, I
done
think
yet.
it's less,
Sure, I'm not quite done yet, though.
okay. go
Thanks,
ahead.
that's all right. So, for me, could you just explain, is there a dog kennel going in there as well?
There was a dog kennel
Uh-huh.
approved, and he said that his clients would like to be able to drop off their dogs before work, 'cause it's a
Mhm.
dog daycare. So he's asked for at least 6:30 start, so that there's not a big rush of everybody coming in at the same
And I
time.
understand that has been decided by the zoning board, so the planning board
Yeah,
did not
that's
have
good.
any input on that, and it's unfortunate because that's completely different than what was proposed and approved by the planning board. So now to go back and say, we need to have 6 AM, we need to make sure we go to 10 PM, for me, I like to stick with what has been done, and if it's a reasonable accommodation, I think a reasonable accommodation would be 7 AM, maybe to 6. I don't think the use until 10 PM, adding Sundays. I think we're just changing the intent of what you came to us for, and that's.
Is Sunday an unreasonable request for people to do work on their office?
I think you have the ability to do office work, don't you?
No, and I
So
don't know
office
how
work on Sundays.
the
that's-
original block-up place, I think it was boilerplate in the original plan submission, and it's just brought to our attention that we're in violation every time someone goes to the site on a Sunday.
Right. Mhm. I understand, and I'm not
And I don't want to
opposed,
be in violation.
I'm not opposed to office hours on Sunday. It's a pretty non-impactful, but that's gonna expand into the gym's now open on Sunday, the doggy daycare is open on Sunday.
They don't need Sunday hours for the dog.
You didn't need that, any of that when you came to us the first time, but here we are. So, for me, I'm all right with expanding the hours minimally.
Okay.
For office use, I'm not okay with starting contractors setting up at 6 AM.
Okay.
I'm not okay with that on Sunday. I'm okay
Can we
with the
keep
office
the
use.
warehouse the same and it's just expand the office hours?
I don't have an issue with office hours. I do
Okay.
have an issue with your office hours at 10 PM though. I mean, that's really not necessary. So, yeah.
There's probably been a couple of emergencies and not a regular thing. Can we keep it at, right now it's 7 to 9, would you be okay with 6 to 9 office hours?
Office
And
hours, but
Sunday
that's
the
not what
same
it's
as
going to be.
Saturday.
It's going to be contractors, you
Yeah.
said, that are now
No,
showing up.
no, only for their office.
No, I
No.
don't believe that, sorry.
So-
You've already just explained to us that contractors are coming in to load the truck early and they're getting in trouble and they're in violation, so it's not office hours. Let's be honest what we're doing here. You need it open at 6 AM because those are typical contractor hours, correct? 6 AM? No?
That is what I'm being told.
Okay, so what do you actually want? For what use?
Well, I'd like it to be the use that are approved by the building commissioner, who
Right,
existing
the
tenants.
uses are,
uses.
yeah, that's obviously, but what do you want for actual hours on the site, not just including office hours, because we know that it's not office hours. You want 6 AM to be able to have
6
contractors
to 9.
to come in
These
to
are
load their trucks.
6 to 9, but primarily, we do not need the contractors past 6.
Okay, then 6 AM to 6 PM is what you're asking for, so your contractors in those spaces, I'm not talking about the gym, I'm talking your contractors who are more noisy than a gym use, can come in at 6 AM to load their vehicles, right? Is that accurate?
6 to 6.
Yeah, that's
And
accurate,
then,
not office
And
hours.
then just, if it's after that, it's just office hours, doing their paperwork.
Okay, I just wanted to get the full picture. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, Chris?
I think the 6 to 6 to load, and if it's interior office hours later than that, that sounds amenable. I'd like to keep the weekend timing, I think, the same, the 7 to 5, and I don't have an issue with adding a Sunday if it's not currently in there. And if it's either 7 to 5 or maybe 8 to 5, just because it is a Sunday. I think that would be something I'd be open to.
Jay?
Yeah, I think I have to echo more what Beth said. The 6 in the morning is a little too early for me. Although I would want to hear what people in the area have to say about that because I don't live there and they do. And that's me being, subjective about something that doesn't impact me. Sunday, I'm more of an office hours person myself, so I'm probably leaning more towards.
Yeah, we can say no contracting.
Yeah, I don't think a contractor should be over there ripping ladders up on Sunday at 7 in the morning.
So what do you think of a Sunday?
I'm, I'm okay with the 7 to.
5 PM
Yeah,
for
7 to
office
5 or
hours
something.
only?
Yeah, office hours only on Sunday.
Jen?
I have no problem with office hours anytime, quite frankly. I have a real issue with this whole dog kennel situation, which unfortunately was not brought in front of us at all whatsoever. These dogs bark.
Was that through zoning or was that?
Zoning.
Through planning?
And my,
Zoning board.
you know,
Through zoning.
and if my concern is we expand hours for, I actually don't even have as much of an issue with contractors because,
Yeah.
you know, they're gonna open their car door, they're gonna load up, you know, whatever, they're down the street, they're gonna leave, there's not a ton of them. But now all of a sudden, if that means it's the same business hours allowed for a dog kennel, it's very different when you have dogs barking, getting in and out of cars or seeing their owner. And so I'm just conflicted about general, office hours aside, general public, open business hours, whatever's on Google, whatever the owner says, because all the other uses to me are like kind of harmless. I go to a gym, I go at 5:30 a.m. and everyone who's sleeping would have no idea, right? Because it's one car, it's a few cars coming in, it's a few cars leaving. But the dog kennel situation is what gives me pause in expanding business hours. Like I said, administrative stuff, I don't care, but I don't know how to restrict it for some business and not others. Like, I don't know.
Well, see, that's my.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
That's my
that's-
fear. When you say office hours, that means it's carte blanche. Everybody
Well-
will show up and do their thing.
Well, no, I think there's a difference between saying someone can visit their own office, they have a key to their building, the building's, it's not open, right? Like, think about you search dog kennel on Google and it says it's open Monday through Friday, 6 to 6, like that's their business hours, right? I think that's what we're talking about, versus I own the dog kennel, I can go in at 8 PM, unlock the door and go do some paperwork. That's different, those are the administrative hours,
Will it be-
in my
will
opinion.
it be
But it's a business,
engaged?
the public, published business operation, or whoever that may be. My concern is the tenant that's been approved is now in conflict with the spirit of what we were trying to
We're trying to
accomplish.
accommodate the neighbors'
Right.
concerns about the 7 o'clock bus stop.
I mean,
So
I don't,
6:30.
I'm just saying what the conversations we had as a planning board in
Right.
trying to be respectful of noise, generally noise primarily, right? With the comings and goings to the neighbors, to the abutters. Obviously, safety is always a primary concern with kids and bus stops and whatnot, but I'm not sure that, expanding hours of operation, sure, maybe it'll help, I don't know, but there's a little bit of a, you solve one problem, you've created another issue, and, so, I don't know.
So, let me ask you a question. How long before building 3 is complete?
We should have the shell up by, call it July 1, tenant fit out, occupancy Labor Day.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, this kind of changed scheme since we approved it under conditions that we thought was gonna be utilized. Myself, I'd say 7 AM to 6 PM as a trial. Do it for a year.
Well, we already have 9 is established for office hours, right?
Yeah, but now you have a dog, you have daycare, a doggy daycare in there or whatnot. You gotta be respectful to the neighbors at this point. And I guess, where do the dogs go?
They're inside.
Yeah, no outside.
As in, like, they'll bring them outside for like, I think it's 5 at a time on a leash to walk the property.
So,
But
you
they're
gotta
not,
take that
you know.
into consideration with, vans and deliveries. You mentioned a furniture delivery company coming and going. You gotta,
It was
take
a,
that, you gotta take
no.
that into consideration with somebody walking 5 dogs down the middle of the parking lot.
No, they would stick
I'm
to the
just
grass.
making a point.
Fair enough.
So, just to clarify,
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, the hours of operation, I think that's what we're talking about when we're saying open business. Currently, it's 7 AM to 5 PM, Monday through Saturday, whereas the office hours are then, they are granted the additional till 10 PM. Nothing on Sunday, no matter what. That's just what it is right now.
So Mr. Chairman, so
Sure.
what you're requesting is 6 AM through 10 PM for office hours as well as general use of the facility spaces, correct? So a blanket covering for office hours, you want to extend,
If you made it 6:30, I can probably tell everybody just to keep off. If that helps the neighbors. I can't predict what people are gonna do, so I say 6 to 9 or whatever. But, I just been getting calls from the building department, saying, you've got someone coming in on a Sunday, or 7 came in at 6:30.
yep, and I think when we sat here and reviewed this through the planning board, you guys made certain to iterate to us that you will be enforcing the hours of operation But it doesn't sound like that's being enforced. Are your tenants made aware of what time the
Yes.
hours are?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know, I don't have an issue with adding the Sunday hours, 7 AM to 5 PM, if it's office hours. I do have an issue extending overall blanket use until 10 PM for the facilities. That wasn't the
Okay.
intent.
What would you,
I would say I'm potentially okay with 6:30, understanding contractors coming and going.
I'm fine with 6 to 6 for
Can
the
I just
warehouse.
finish talking, sir?
Oh, I'm sorry.
You keep interrupting me, it's really starting to bother me. I know you want to go, so do we, so don't worry, we're trying to
I'm
get through
sorry.
this. So potentially 6:30 AM through, I'd say 6 PM, I don't have an issue with, Monday through Friday for blanket uses. Sunday, 7 AM to 5 PM. That's just my opinion. I don't know what the rest of the board feels.
I think that's reasonable.
Jay?
I agree with that.
Okay. Chris?
So 6:30 to 6 for the warehouse office still gets their later hours for internal administrative.
Yep.
Saturday's unchanged. Sunday goes 7 to 5. Saturday and Sunday are office only, or Saturday also?
Saturday, I think,
Saturday's
was for
warehouse?
contractors.
Yeah. Saturday's full
Sundays was
use.
for office hours.
Sunday's
only.
office only. Yep.
Yep, it's hours of operation versus office hours, as it's
That's
written.
what's confusing.
Yes, so hours of operation, we're saying 6:30 AM to 6 PM, Monday through Saturday. And office hours
Yes.
are included within that, and then beyond that, you can go till 10 PM.
Monday to
Monday
Saturday.
through Saturday, and also 7 AM to 5 PM for office hours on Sunday.
Yep.
Yes, you got it, Jen.
Yep.
You're familiar.
Okay.
Approach the mic. Name and address, please.
Same person again.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm looking at my phone because it's doing closed caption for you guys, so that's what I'm doing that, sorry. When the many times we were in front of this project, they talk about the contract, the office hours, and that was because the other gentleman that was here said he wanted to keep his contractor office hours open, meaning his office, not the entire building. He wanted his office to be open till 10. That was the delineation that I recall in this. And I think, you know, the grappling for the office hours, you all were the planning board that listened to the neighbors. This meeting is in general business tonight. The neighbors don't know about it. I only know about it because a person told me. And unless you keep up on reading the agendas, I know it's riveting to everybody, but it hasn't been my riveting reading lately. And the folks don't know about it. The neighbors don't know about it. And when the dog kennel was being done through ZBA, there was plenty of neighbors there to discuss it, to voice the concerns. And in fact, the folks owning Franklin Flex didn't voice any concern about hours at that time. Mr. Hunchart brought up that he thought the hours were small and they should have been bigger. And Mr. Brown said that that was an issue for you guys to discuss in a public meeting. And so I feel a little like it was all very public before when you made the decision, when this planning board thoughtfully made this decision, when they thoughtfully agreed to it. And now they're not even done with the project 3 years later that we're sitting in the construction zone still. They're not even done with the project and they're like, all right, now we're gonna change it. So, I mean, what's changed that now everybody's changing their opinion and nobody's here because they don't know about it, right? Like, you know, they just don't. And I'm hesitant to say, you know, how quickly everyone's talking about changing the hours after the months and months and months that it was discussed at the time. And we're talking about dog kennels, the gym. The public is coming and going. I apologize for going on, but there was so many items that we talked about. There are no sidewalks in the area itself. There's no sidewalks. That was because it was discussed. It's just contractors coming. They're not going to be walking around. They're going to be walking dogs, 55 dogs. out there on the tar. There's no sidewalks. It turned into a project that was quite different than the project I sat here with you all. No sidewalks needed on Washington Street, no sidewalks needing it. So I'm just concerned that we're just kind of, this project's just kind of pushing through.
Is it okay to respond? Or do you want to go?
No, I'm just gonna make.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm done.
The reason why I asked when building 3 is gonna be complete, because I'm gonna wanna put a time frame of a trial run on this for 1 year. We have problems, you're going back to the original hours. And that's up to you to manage your tenants, not us.
And would it be a decibel level, or would we consider it a problem?
It could be both potentially, so it's up to you to manage your tenants based on us giving you some additional time.
Mr. Chairman, to add on that, I would think that it's complaints to the building department too. If you're already getting complaints about people showing up outside the business hours that have been approved, if this building commissioner is still getting calls that there's issues with your contractors or your folks that are on site coming in before your hours of operation are approved, that have been approved, then you have an issue. And we'll ask the building commissioner to make sure within that year time frame that he's telling us, yeah, we still have people showing up when they shouldn't be. So, just to.
And we do have video surveillance, so we can keep track of.
And
I can
idea.
get worried.
that'll give the residents some ease, knowing that we're gonna have to keep an eye on it for a year.
I just wanted to, through you, Mr. Chairman, to respond to some of your comments. I don't disagree with you. I 100% feel the same way, and I don't think it's right that this is happening, but unfortunately, at times, the planning board's hands are tied with uses that are allowed in a building that can be issued by the zoning enforcement agent. So while you're presenting one project to the planning board, there's nothing we can do that says you can't go and do by right uses in that approved project. So our hands are tied in that respect. Our hands are also tied because the zoning board issued a permit allowing a dog kennel. So our hands are tied in that respect too. So what we can do is work with you, the applicant and the board and the building commissioner and everybody else to try to come up with a reasonable solution to make it work. I think a reasonable compromise is what we discussed, and I think a reasonable compromise is to put a year monitoring onto it, and if it works, and there's no complaints, and everything's good, then we're good. If not, then we'll come back and readjust it.
Okay. Oh, yeah, one more.
Please.
Patricia Steiner, 220 Washington Street. I did send a letter to Chairman Rondeau and expressing some concerns about the project. And one item in particular in my letter I think needs to be addressed. And this occurred last week. I was pulling out of Taft Drive, heading up Washington Street northerly, was a tractor-trailer truck going at a slow rate of speed. I had time to pull out, but I didn't. I let the tractor-trailer pass. When he passed, I pulled out of Taft Drive. Immediately, when I pulled onto Washington Street, the tractor-trailer turned on his flashing taillights, proceeded to do a three-point turn on Washington Street. He backed into flex space at a very slow and careful rate of speed because it's a difficult turn to negotiate for a tractor-trailer. This is directly across from a school bus stop. And we had a tractor-trailer doing a three-point turn right there. I followed the tractor-trailer into flex space. I watched him back all the way up to Building B. He stopped, and I got out of my car, and I spoke to him. He didn't quite understand the question I was asking. I simply asked, did he make frequent deliveries to this site? And I believe English was not his native tongue, so he handed me the, I don't know if it was an invoice or a bill of lading, I don't know what you call it. But then the occupants of B14 came out when they saw the tractor trailer because that was the delivery for their unit. And I spoke to the young man who came out, and I asked him, did a tractor trailer make frequent deliveries to his location? He said, well, this was the second time that they've done this. So I just wanted the planning board to be aware. I know when the project was discussed, tractor trailers were specifically addressed. We were told they would never be accessing the site. They cannot turn around because of the site configuration. So this delivery driver had no choice but to either back into the property, or if he went in, the normal way, he would have to, back out. So.
Well, we did address this in the,
And I believe you said you were going to post a sign saying no tractor trailer
all
traffic.
trailers have to exit right, away from the highway.
No, I believe you said no tractor trailers would be allowed at flex space. I distinctly remember hearing
We
that.
specifically designed
Thank you.
a turnaround for tractor trailers at the town request. And I'll talk to the tenants, if they're getting twice a week deliveries by tractor trailer.
No, he said it was the second time since he's been occupying the
So-
space.
Once a month
We're
is
we're
probably.
going off the beaten path a little bit of a truck getting potentially lost, but, this is why we're gonna do a one-year run at it.
Okay.
And this way here, building 3 will be complete, first 2 buildings complete, and we'll get feedback from the building commissioner and/or other departments. Okay? Everybody okay?
Are we allowed to have Zoom comments?
Oh, go ahead, sorry about that. Didn't see you.
Hi, my name is Callie Reisinger, and I am a butter at 1 Taft Drive. And so I do have a couple of concerns with this because we do have an automotive body shop that is just next door to the flex space. Their current hours are 7 to 5, weekdays only, and that seems to work out just great. My property houses the bus stop for all the children. It houses Jefferson, Remington, the high school, as well as Ben Franklin Charter School. We are currently zoned for walking only, so the parents that do bus their children pay for that. However, because there's no sidewalks, there are many children who, maybe their parents can't afford the busing, are forced to walk down Washington. And my concerns are their safety. When we were looking over the doggy daycare, we did have about 15 residents come out to speak against that due to the fact that it would put our children in a safety issue. But unfortunately, they went ahead and passed that with a special permit. They voted without putting it on the agenda. We had to recall that vote so that there could be transparency. During that time, we raised our concerns with the owner of the doggy daycare because he expressed that he wanted to change the times during that time. And so that's of great concern to us as parents. And I can tell you that the children actually start standing out for the buses at about 6:40. And then they are there until almost 8:20, which is when the pickup for Jefferson starts, if it's late, will come. And so we have a big concern about that. We have already had some issues with the fitness center operating outside of the business hours that we've already had. We've had to bring that up to Gus Brown so that he can address that. I will say that the owners have been very helpful in addressing that when it comes up, but it is a concern because it feels like we have to kind of watch and see what's happening. I am concerned because there are 55 dogs that are going to be approved for that area, in which the owner will be walking 5 at a time on a rotating basis every hour within the complex. So those dogs are going to be out there, which is concerning to all of us for their safety. And so we were also told that during the zoning board meeting, that if there was going to be a change for the time, much like Karen said, that would go through planning board. And just like Karen said, none of the abutters are actually aware that this is going on right now, which is concerning, since there were so many of us that came out in concern for safety of our children and the dogs that are going to be serviced at the area, and yet none of us even knew about this.
Mr. Chairman, may I
Thank
ask a
you.
question on that? Amy, is there a requirement that a public hearing notice is mailed for this particular?
For this hearing, it's a limited site plan and it falls under general business, so it is a public meeting, which Mr. Brown's correct by saying so. It's just not a public hearing because it does not require a public hearing due to these changes. So we have guidelines in the Chapter 185 zoning book that there's certain guidelines you have to meet to hold a public hearing, and then there's guidelines that just falls under general business. And I believe, Callie, I did respond to your email this morning about this, that this meeting didn't require a public hearing. But it is at a public meeting.
Great, thank you for that clarification, I appreciate it.
So, based on Jen's rendering of hours, with a 1-year trial run, everybody good with that?
Wait, comments over?
You got one more?
Yeah, sorry. Matt Garlock at 4 Taft Drive. I just wanted to echo, what Callie said, what Karen said, and a few of the board members. It feels like this site was talked through extensively years ago, and here we are now trying to change some of the, initial conditions for that approval. So it feels like, they got approved under certain conditions, and now they're, incrementally trying to change that. And I can appreciate, the office hour extension, that makes sense to me. But the site, as far as I can tell, is originally approved, was not for, the public to be coming and going. And so that feels like a change, and, as others have expressed, not something that has to go back through the planning board. That can be decided by an entirely different board. And so I guess one recommendation I have for the hours trial would also be not just to say, I don't know how it will be worded, but is there a way to explicitly state that hours open to the public are restricted to a certain time frame, and that it doesn't include that? Because I don't want the language to be so vague that, if we come back to the zoning board for some other approval, or to this board, in the future, that, it's the spirit isn't really captured, if the wording is vague enough.
Couple things. I appreciate your commentary, Matt. Through the chair, I just went back to the approved site plan. It does indicate that there should be a no tractor trailer trucks allowed sign at the entry to the site. So if that does not exist, it needs to be there. It should have been there.
And if that's the case, then through the chair, in response to Jen, then you as the manager of the property, or whomever is managing it, really needs to start enforcing the no tractor trailers. If it wasn't intended, then it shouldn't be used.
The other. That's in the actual approved plan.
It's on the public website. It's on the, from whatever dated the most recent plan for this project from 2022. No tractor trailer trucks allowed sign at the, it's on the drawings. My second maybe suggestion, I don't know if this is possible or not, but I wonder if there's a way that even with the, maybe the new hours of operation that don't fall within the originally approved hours of operation, if it can at least be limited to like 2-axle vehicles. Right, so that's talking about passenger vehicles and a tradesman's, van, right? Anything bigger than that, is definitely gonna have backup beeping noises. I wonder if that's a reasonable compromise. I don't know how to, if we can get that specific.
Is that something we're allowed to address if it's only intended to be a discussion on hours of operation?
I mean, this is a limited site plan modification, so technically you could put stuff in there that if you want to include it.
I don't think
Just-
two axles is gonna solve what you're talking about there, though. Two axles just front and back, anything can have a backup beep. The Amazon trucks are two axle and have a backup beep.
Sure, but it may,
Than a 16.
it may prevent larger trucks from now having the
But a
ability to.
24-foot box truck is two axles.
Two axles.
You're right, yeah.
There's two
Okay.
axle dump
I
trucks.
don't know, I'm not, yeah,
10 wheels.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe anything with, yeah, I don't know.
Could we have a decibel rating that we don't exceed or something? I don't know. If it's a noise issue.
No, I think at this point, we try the hours, and we get the feedback from the rest of the town and its boards and the building commissioner, and, we take it from there, and it's,
And absolutely no tractor trailers.
and no tractor trailers, make sure that sign is placed, so that way there, it'll help, traffic in and out of the space. We go from there.
Mr. Chair,
Sure.
Jen, if you're looking at the approved plans, I'm not sure if it's there, how detailed, did it stipulate that it was non-public after hours? So office hour, like I could go to my office and I could do my paperwork, but I'm not having customers come to my office at 8:30 at night or 9 o'clock
I
at
don't
night.
think we were that specific. I think it was because it was a
was-
contractor's yard, so it was like a plumber and electrician.
Yeah, I think that's included in the hours of operation.
Yeah.
So hours of operation includes, public coming
Yeah.
and the working hours, and then you
The
have the office.
office hours would be the
Yes.
office. Okay.
Yeah.
That's how they're divided.
And for what it's worth, I could find the site plan for now. We'd need to go back to see the actual, written, I mean, maybe it's on here. I didn't get that in depth, but.
Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead, Mark.
I have a concern, one, about the enforcement of the hours, and number two, the length of 1 year. I think that's way too long, but that's my opinion.
Well, I think, I'm just giving it a year because building 3 is not done yet. So if there's any problem, it's gonna happen in the first 2. And then building 3 is gonna get affected by the change of hours if that need be. That's why I thought maybe a year. 6 months may not be enough based on the occupancy level of the facilities.
And the fact that school is out from
Yeah,
June
exactly.
to September, we really want to get a
That's the only
sense.
reason why I pegged it at a year, Mark, that's all. Maybe a
Thank you.
trial run.
For you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Mark, I'm not particularly concerned, well, I am concerned, but I'm not hugely concerned about the enforcement because I feel that the building commissioner has sent this applicant back to us because there have been calls and have been issues. So I'm assuming that the residents that are abutting this property and impacted will be making those phone calls still if they are having issues. So during this monitoring period, we, as a planning board, can have information and facts in front of us when they are sent back to us in a year from now because they're non-compliant. It'll be easier to say, you know what, no more changes, no more change to the office hours as we approved back in March, back to your original hours. Sorry, didn't work. So I hope that in understanding that this is not required to be an advertised public hearing, but rather just open to the public, that you as neighbors will talk amongst each other to make sure that your neighbors know to continue if there is a portion of the hours that are not going according to plan, that you are continuing to contact the building commissioner. That's a good way to make sure this is enforced properly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, everybody good? Okay. Mark, all good?
Understood.
Okay. So, there we stand.
All right, so make a motion to, for 1 year, approve a change in hours of operation, meaning business hours, to be from 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and to also allow for office hours only, Monday through Saturday that time as well, but then extended to 10 p.m. and on Sunday allow for office hours from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Okay.
And to install.
Oh, and to install, as it should have been, as indicated on the site plan, the no tractor trailer trucks allowed sign at the entry to the site.
Now, just one clarification for everybody to make sure. We're not gonna wait a year if we get a pile of complaints. If we get a pile of complaints, we're bringing it back in.
Oh, yeah, no.
Okay, so I just wanna make that clear. We're not gonna wait till the year up. If we get a bunch of complaints, we're gonna bring you back to the table. Okay? Just so you're aware of it.
Second.
All in
Thank you.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, everybody. Okay. Amy, this public hearing for Panther Way Senior Village?
Sorry, should we take like a 5-minute recess? Is that possible? Or do we still have more?
We
Do we still have the
do.
final form each?
Almost done.
We're
Okay,
almost done.
okay, just kidding,
We
fine.
got 2
I'll hold out.
seconds really, actually.
All right.
Panther Way, continued special permit site plan,
April 28th?
look for an application, make a motion to continue, Panther Way Senior Village till April 28th. Are they gonna have everything in front that they need?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And then our last item of business, this would be a, excuse me, a public hearing. This is a continuation of 124 to 126 Grove Street, site plan modification. And I believe it's just an update tonight? Correct. Okay, so I just want to give us a brief update where you stand.
I will be brief. All right, so, what we've been waiting on was confirmatory soil testing. We had a working session with the DPW, Brinkley, Goddard, the wetland scientist, myself, RPE, you know, all the other technical minds involved in this. That was done earlier this year. We hatched out and worked out all of the key areas. One of the things that was required was additional soil testing in the infiltration basins. We got the official results for that end of not last week, but the week before. We've been working on making the revisions per that. The biggest change is to the configuration of the drainage basin. The original design called for 8-foot diameter pipes with a very large system. That's been replaced, and that was going to be detention only. It has been replaced by a smaller recharge system. And obviously we have to get that into beta for them to review and sign off on. And that's our intent. And we've also had Vaness, our traffic consultant, review the traffic concerns that were brought up by Beta as well as the board at the last meeting. And you know, that'll be in our comment response to Beta as well. But you know, it's been a while before, since we've worked before you, we wanted to give you an update to give you the indication that we're still working on it. And we're looking to get that filing in this week. So the deadline is Thursday, we're aware of that, so that will be for the next hearing. And so that's what we're aiming to hit.
Okay, good, thank you. So, timing of it. What do you think, Amy?
So, with something coming in this Thursday, would you be looking for Beta's comments prior to the next meeting? I don't know with these amount of changes if we can move this to April 28th. The only reason I say that is the 7th already has 4 public hearings on it with a zoning change.
How many?
4.
So the public hearing is just for zoning change?
No, one's a zoning change and then 3 other public hearings.
Let's say we push it, give them a little time to get everything worked out with Beta. That way then you can come in a little bit more closed in with the loop, if that works. Unless you wanna be here till 11:30 that night, that's fine. You'll be the
Our-
last guy up too, don't forget.
Our
Yeah,
client
well,
is urgent, is eager to keep this moving and move forward. We'd rather, worst case scenario, if Beta doesn't have their comments back in time, we can just continue to that after, but if Beta does have it ready in time, and it's already been continued to the 28th, then we're kind of stuck with it. So we'd rather, go on the aggressive side with the timing and try to get it in for that time, and worst case, we just continue it with Amy at a time.
So, through the chair, you're still working through conservation?
Yes.
We're hoping to close conservation on April 3rd, which will be before the board's next meeting. So our hope was to be able to close with them and then be in a position to answer all of Beta's concerns so we could come back, hopefully for a close of the public hearing. We don't obviously want to make life miserable, so if we were able to do all of that and Beta was satisfied, we don't mind waiting. We would hope it would be relatively short at that point. So if it's possible to get on the April 7th, I think, agenda, and then if we're not ready, we would just ask to move to the 28th. But that's our hope.
What else we have on this, Stephanie?
50 Constitution, 759 Union, a zoning change for shared kitchens. What's the other one in front of us?
I don't particularly have an issue with them continuing it, I mean,
I just wanna make sure there's enough time
I think,
so we can
Yeah.
give you guys enough time to work it through too.
Yeah,
with
and we
us.
would be sensitive to the board. We wouldn't, if we knew we didn't have everything buttoned up, we would ask to continue to
So
28th.
we'll go to April 7th then?
The board's fine with that.
You good with that?
is there any,
Okay, make a motion to continue till April,
you've got some people in the
oh,
audience.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no,
Did you say, listening?
we're just listening.
Wow,
Okay, cool.
God
Yeah.
bless you.
Yeah.
God bless
Good for you, yeah.
No Monday night football?
Not yet.
Thank you. Motion to continue till April 7th, wait a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all
All
very
right,
much.
thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Good night.
No. Form H Fisher Street.
Yeah, did that, you crossed that off the list, but
We didn't do it.
No,
We don't need to.
We don't
it's
have-
not- They're not on the agenda.
no, they're not, it's general
Oh.
business, so we have to.
the one online is, it's on there,
Yeah.
so,
Oh, okay.
So did we cover everything then? We did?
yeah.
Good, make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Oh,
Sorry.
just want to send out some happy birthday wishes to our town planner, Amy Love, tomorrow.
Thank you.
At least it wasn't tonight.
Turning 25.
That's right, Jay, I like that.
Recently, we're made aware that our planning director has decided to retire, so his job has been posted. If anybody out there in Zoom land wants to inquire, I'm sure you can find the advertisement at Town Hall. And don't forget, planning board elections will be happening this November, so if you're interested in running, make sure you file your paperwork when it's available. Put that out there.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.